Many foreigners like you who are working either with Japanese people or working at a Japanese company feel like they're left out in meetings or not even invited to meetings. And if this is you, you're very lucky because today we're going to discuss why that's happening in this video and try to solve it. Guys, if this is your first time here, my name is seannarron and I work as an interpreter here in Japan in a Japanese company. And I promise you in under 10 minutes, you'll learn how to have a long-lasting relationship with Japanese people, especially at work. So guys, let's start looking at the reasons. So the main reasons why you're being avoided, right? People avoid you. The first reason they're not inviting you to work meetings is that they don't feel comfortable talking to you. And what does that mean? Japanese people need a little more than just being a coworker. They need to know that you're a person that they can rely on. And how do we do that? You start by using a little bit of Japanese in the office instead of being a stubborn, the stubborn guy that uses only English. You can ask them, what they do outside of their work life. The key here is going from public to private. You want to ask things like, この前、日本食食べましたよ or 何か健康にいいご飯ありますか and get involved with them. It's okay to ask personal stuff as long as you show that you care about them. Guys, this is how you start. So even though you probably speak more English, you can start by speaking a little bit of Japanese and ask these questions, right? If you look at a person who only talks, compare this, right? A person who only talks when they need something, and by the way, they probably ask that in English, versus a person who interacts at least a little bit in Japanese on a daily basis, huge difference. You want to be the latter person that speaks a little bit of Japanese and gets involved, kind of interacts with people on a daily basis, right? I think we can agree on that. What I've seen, what I've been seeing with my clients is that once they start interacting, the Japanese bosses start thinking that it may be okay to give you some work or ask you a favor. Then the relationship just starts, right? So this is how we do it. So just start getting involved and start speaking a little bit of Japanese, and that could solve a lot of things. All right, so let's move on to our second reason. The second reason why they might be avoiding you is that they think there's a wall between you and them. We all feel this, right? If you're the gaijin at work, if you're the foreigner at work, you probably feel like there's a virtual wall between you and them, right? And why does this happen? It's usually because there's a difference in style of communication. Guys, instead of just learning Japanese, you also need to know the culture if you want to succeed in a business environment, right? When you're talking to a Japanese person, they usually are the quiet one in general. Japanese people are more modest in general. They don't talk too much. And we are good listeners, and usually we're just usually bad at talking, right? While many Americans, for instance, are usually better at speaking rather than listening, just in general, guys. So just because the Japanese person is quiet during your conversation, it doesn't mean that you should just keep talking about yourself. Here, it's always good to ask them questions about them, right? Make that an opportunity to ask questions about them, like これどう思いますか? Or 確かにそうですよね. わかります? Like things like that, right? So giving them the opportunity to speak is one important thing you got to think about when talking to a Japanese person. One of my clients actually had the same problem, but he started asking questions about the Japanese person, the Japanese manager, instead of talking about himself, and the relationship just started to improve. So, and also in Japan, we're taught, that talking too much is a sign of disrespect. This is this is a thing that a lot of people don't know, not a lot of people know. So if you want them to respect you, you can start by letting them talk first, asking them questions so that they can actually talk, right? So this way they'll feel more comfortable talking to you. So let's talk about our third reason now. The third reason is that you probably did something in the past that is considered rude in Japanese culture. But I know you probably did it not knowing it was rude. So don't worry, guys. I'm here to teach you, a few things what you shouldn't do and what you probably should fix, right? First, are you letting them finish their sentence instead of interrupting them in the middle of a sentence? Also, saying no too directly is considered rude in Japanese culture. So if you're doing that, you may want to, instead of saying no too directly, you may want to offer some other idea kindly instead of just saying that you don't like their idea, using what I'd like to call cushion words, like, なるほど、わかります、それもありますね, are good things to say rather than, just directly telling them 違うと思います, right? Use these cushion words in order to make kind of a buffer zone, become a cushion, so that you can kind of neutralize the conversation even if you have a different opinion, right? We have to know not only the language but also the culture like this in order to make them trust you, right? And the hardest part for you is probably learning this all by yourself. And if you feel like you need help practicing what I talked about today in real life, you can start working with me one-on-one in my training program. So if you think that will help you, you can apply from the application form below. Guys, I hope this video gave you the opportunity to rethink your relationship with Japanese people at work. And if it did, please tell your friends and family because I'm rooting for all of you. All right. Thank you so much for letting me serve you like this on YouTube, and I'll talk to you in our next one. Bye-bye.